How we doing? Welcome to the back of the classroom. First, we're going to start off by thanking our sponsor, Magical Pose. Magical Pose is a clothing line for men, women, and most teens. They also have accessories, book bags, jackets. Feel free and check them out. You can find them on Instagram at Magical Pose, MAGICALPOSE. And you can find them online at magicalpose.com, MAGICALPOSE.com. And just a heads up, due to COVID, there are some shipping delays, take anywhere from 7 to 14 days after processing. You should get two emails. One email is a confirmation with the receipt, and the second email is when it's shipped with a tracking number, so you can track your packages. Definitely want to get that out to you guys as soon as possible. As things get better, I'm hoping the shipping gets better. And feel free to check it out. The material feels great. It's not the regular cotton t-shirts you're used to if you get the shirts. It's a very nice dry fit material. I personally like it. I like the way it feels. And feel free and check it out. Leave a message on their Instagram, give them some feedback. If you know you have any ideas or concerns, definitely there for that. And I would like to thank those who donated. Mr. Williams, thank you for your contribution. Ms. Coleman, thank you for your contribution. It is always appreciated. And the proverbial collection plate. For those who have Cash App, you can donate as much as you're willing and comfortable. $ KingRel333. $KINGREL 333. And for those who have PayPal, paypal.me/Rel Jackson. That'll be PAYPAL.me/RELJACKSON. And those who want to reach out to me on social media, you can find me on Twitter, KingRel333, KINGREL 333. Find me on Facebook, Rel L Dios, REL space EL space DIOS. You can find me on Instagram, Rel Jefe, REL_JEFE. And those who want to see the visual, you can find it on YouTube, Rel Jackson, RELJACKSON. In today's episode is going to be talk about children. More so our responsibility to them. Not just the ones that we have, not just the ones that are related to us, not just those who are in our community, but all children. Because the children we raise, the children we influence, also interact with other children. And the better role models we are and the better we teach them, the easier it is for them to influence and give and share the knowledge that they have with others. And that again builds our village even more. A lot of times, depending on where you at, a parent's responsibility for their children ends anywhere between 18 and 21. Those that could vary based on where you're at. But just some of the things that we're responsible for. We're responsible to make sure that they have a safe environment. We got to make sure they have basic needs. We got to make sure we establish their self-esteem. We got to make sure they have morals and values. We have to make sure there's a mutual respect between us and the children. We also have to make sure they're disciplined. And we should be involved with their education. And last but not least, know your child. Know the child. Know every child that you come into contact with. Get to know them. Again, they're part of our community. All right, so let's tackle it from the top. First, we need to acknowledge that children develop at a different pace, but the input of information that they hold on to that builds who they are starts from birth to 7 years of age. After 7 years of age, the development process is solidified. Everything that you want to program and teach them is now implanted deeply. It's now concluded. Now they are very capable of learning more, but what they've learned from birth to 7 years of age is going to establish how they go about learning it. So we want to make sure that we give them more than they realize they need. And a lot of times kids are going to push back, but we still have to provide certain things for them, to them, in order for them to be successful after that 7 years of age. So we'll start at the top with a safe environment. We got to make sure our kids are far away from any physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. That should go without say, but because there was no blueprint, no book, no class, no studies of any sort that would teach us how we are supposed to raise our children, we can at least come with a common ground. And we can start with just making sure our children are safe. Uh, we want to make sure they don't have access to any unsafe objects. Just keep it away from them, lock it up, keep it out of reach. Let children be children. Let them learn with tools that is safe for them. We should be able to turn our backs and make sure that they're not going to do anything that can cause them serious harm or any health issues. Um, and we have to learn who the people are going to be around our children. We shouldn't just leave our children aimlessly around anyone without knowing who they are, their what they believe in. We don't want anybody teaching our children anything other than what we agree they should learn, and or just better understanding their understanding as a person. So when they're interacting with our children, we can explain certain things to them from our perspective so that they can have a more open mind and understand people are people, people are different. And it's just okay to learn how different people are. But you should also be aware of who they are so you can better help your children understand how to assimilate that information. So you have to be part of their thinking process. So you want to get to know who's around your children so you can help explain things to them, because children have questions, and these some things have to be explained to them so that they can be able to develop those how would you say, the ability to think for themselves. Start with you teaching them how to think. And without being taught how to do something, everything they do is going to be one mistake after another until they think they got it right. But without confirming it, they'll just believe everything they think is correct because they was never taught how to. And then comes the basic needs. We should be providing our children with clean water, nutritious food, shelter, a warm bed with sheets, a blanket, a pillow, comfort. They need medical care when needed and when ill. Child is sick, they obviously need to see a medical profession. If your child is injured, your child needs to see a medical profession. A lot of things happen and you don't know. You don't know what causes an infection. You don't know if that area has been infected. You don't know how sick your child is. That's why we have professionals. We have people who go to school to learn these things. We might not agree with their tactics, but if something is wrong and you don't know, it's better to get medical attention. Depending on where you at, it could be the nurse down the hall. It could be the doctor who live in your building, the doctor who lives down the block. That's the first person you can reach. That's a responsible action, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But again, who do you know in your village? Who do you know in your neighborhood? Who do you know in your building? Who do you know in your block? These are people that you can get to in under a minute, where you might call for an ambulance or a police officer to get you an ambulance. That could take anywhere from 5 to 10, 15 minutes. If time is important, it's good to know who's in your area, who can help out, have their contact information. Just be sociable people. We're all looking after one another, and our children are key to our survival, and that's who we do it for. Clothing, it's a necessity, and it has to be appropriate for the weather. We all teach our kids, you don't wear shorts in the winter, you're going to catch a cold. So we're teaching our children how to dress warm, how to dress comfortable, and how to, maintain yourself through, different weather, different climates. And you also have to provide space for them to be alone. Your child needs the ability to isolate themselves from everyone, not forever, but just to be able to have their own space. They have to be able to be alone and understand what it is to be alone and get comfortable with having and enjoying their own company. It's a necessity. It's also a requirement. Now, when it comes to establishing self esteem, we have to accept our children and their uniqueness and their individuality. Everyone's different. Everyone's not going to be who we want them to be. And we have to understand our children are individuals. They're going to have their own mindset. We're only helping them to develop it. And we want them to be the best versions of themselves. So we should encourage our child to participate in a club, in an activity, in sports. Help them to develop social cues, how to socialize with people, how to interact with people, um, get active, move around, be athletic and agile, some sports, some teamwork, develop more of those social skills, learning to work together as a team, because nobody can do nothing by themselves. No one gets rich by themselves. Nobody creates a family by themselves. No one creates a business by themselves. No one builds a house by themselves. Nothing on this planet is done by themselves. You're not farming by yourself. Everything is a team effort. Everything is done with a family concept. And even in a family, you work together as a team. So it's good to get those skills developed and encourage, no force. Just get them out there. Help them to develop those skills that's going to make them a more well rounded individual and more of a contribution to their village. How about we acknowledge our child's achievements and pro social behavior? Um, Got to be present to notice it. And when you acknowledge something, you're letting the person who's present there or the one doing, you make it known. You say something to them. You let them know they're being seen. You let them know they're not invisible. You let them know you're proud of them. You set goals for your child, realistic and age appropriate. You don't want your child to feel like they're going to be an astronaut at the age of 6, but you want to make sure that their reading, their writing, their communication skills are at level. You want to make sure they're physically capable of doing things realistic to height, weight. Don't set them up for failure. It's okay to challenge them, but don't give them more than they can handle. And use your child's misbehavior as a teaching moment. Things go wrong, and a lot of times people don't know how to figure their way out of a bad situation, especially when something goes wrong. A lot of times a child might spill something, and the first thing they do is they freeze up and they don't know what to do, and they look for their parent and goes, what do I do next? You can teach them. This is how we clean up. You make a mess, you pick up some paper towel, clean up the mess, get a broom and a dustpan, sweep up the mess. Might have to get a mop. You don't want certain things that become sticky or saturate into something. You might have to clean it up, any various of ways, but that is definitely something where we can take something wrong and teach them how to overcome that situation. Even if it was a little bit more serious than spilling milk. Let's say it was bad behavior in school. They need to understand and learn how those things can ruin other things around them, whether it's a distraction to the other people in the class, whether it's a distraction from them themselves learning, because if we have to stop the class in order to reprimand that child, they need to understand what they're missing out on. That education where they can fail that test is going to lead them to having a bad grade. That bad grade will put them in a lower GPA, which makes them less of a competition for somebody with a higher GPA who is very capable of doing something but now you're no longer as competitive as you can be because you didn't get those good grades. So now as you get older and you want to have a business and show your accolades because you didn't have a 4.0 average, and not to put pressure on those who can't maintain a 4.0 average, but you're competing with those people who can do just as good as you, but you also have to have an edge. That edge can be your accolades. I can want to open a store, and if I had a 4.0 average, I'd be like, listen, I got a 4.0 average. My IQ is kind of high. You can believe I can do the research and get you guys proper information. Might be more marketable than a person who just be outside, you seen lollygag and hang out and didn't do anything. Who's more marketable? Who are you going to reach out to? Who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to trust? So if you can provide a child with those type of teaching moments and instructions, it can turn their understanding of what they should and shouldn't do into an understanding on why they should do it. You want to put them in the best situation possible to achieve the things that they want, even the things they don't even know that they want. We also got to teach our kids morals and values. We got to teach them honesty, respect, responsibility, compassion, patience, forgiveness, and generosity. I think you should always be honest. What do you lose by telling the truth? If you made a decision, stick to it. That's part of life. Making decisions and sticking to it. If I did something or if I feel a way about something, I should be comfortable enough to be honest with you about it. It also goes with respect. I'm not going to not respect you. I'm also going to teach my children responsibility. But the best way to teach all of these things is through example. You can't tell your child to do as I say, not as I do. Examples is the best form of an education because I get to visually see it, and it gets an understanding of how how the reaction of others play to it. If I'm honest with everyone I'm around and my children see it, and they go, oh, it's a good thing to be honest. And then when somebody lies and somebody sees a very different reaction, most people will learn to stay away from being a liar, to be more honest, and understanding that, hey, I'm going to be honest with you, even though you might not like what I'm going to say. But you can always respect the fact that I've been honest with you and I've never lied to you about anything. And if you lie, you have the opportunity to make it up to the person. Come clean. Say what it is. It's not easy because you have to own the fact that you did something you shouldn't have. You violated a person's trust. So you got to man up, woman up, toughen up, be an adult about it, and just own the fact that you did something that went against the fibers and the fabric of your relationship, and just make it up to the person. There isn't much that things can't be undone, but there's certain things that you can just make right. And a lot of times it's a gesture. And if we can teach our kids that, we can have a better future. More so because our children are our future. So if our children have honesty, respect, they understand what it is to be responsible, they have compassion, they understand what it is to be patient. I'm not good at patience. I hate waiting. But that's not all of what patience is. Patience is to wait without complaining. That's all patience is. So if I ask you to do something and to give me a couple of minutes before I do it, patience is just waiting without complaints. So guess what? The way I learned to be patient is to have more than one thing's going on. So if I'm waiting to eat, I can play video games. I can clean off the dining room table. I can set the plates and forks and cups and juice and do other things to occupy myself so that I'm not being impatient by complaining to the person who needs the time to do certain things so they can get to the things that I'm asking for or whatever I'm waiting for. So patience can simply just be having the ability to focus on something else while waiting. Keep yourself occupied. Forgiveness. It's part of being happy. It's part of your mental state. And you don't forgive others for their benefit. You forgive others for your benefit. Your emotions are tied to you in the way you act, the way you feel. When you're upset, only you feel what you feel. But when you want other people and you impose your feelings on other people and you make them feel uncomfortable, that's you wanting other people to be as upset as you. And why would you spread that? Why spread negativity when we can be positive? So if we keep the positivity within us, all we have to share with people is positivity. Generosity. A lot of times people take more than they need. Sometimes you just be generous with this, only taking what you need and giving to those who might need. You can't take everything with you, and the village and that generosity helps build bonds. I might have it today, you might not have it today. And come tomorrow, I might not have it and you might have it. But because I was generous with you, that energy can be passed on from person to person to person, and everybody looks after one another. Because if I give you my excess, I'm not losing. I still eat for the day. I still have what I need. I see you can use something, I can help you. And then you can help me, and together that bond in the village gets stronger. We got to teach our kids to have respect, but we should also have respect for our children. We should use respectful language. And respectful language comes off as positive energy. I believe I seen an experiment, and I believe this experiment to also affect people. They had a plant, two plants. They separated the plants. And one plant they spoke negative words to, just negative words. And the other plant they spoke positive words, all positive words. So because the energy was different in the room, the plant who only had negative energy, negative words said to it, withered. It wasn't healthy, it was not strong. And then a plant that had positive words to it, it grew. It was vibrant. It looked the way a plant should. And a lot of times you walk past a garden and you see beautiful plants, it makes you feel good. You smell the roses and it just makes you smile. It's the same way with people. If you speak positive energy into people, that person speaks positive energy into other people. And it's a transference of energy. It happens with flowers, whether you believe it or not. If you walk past a garden, looks nice, that person, somebody put energy into making that garden look like that. And when you're experiencing it, it also shared with you that positive energy. And we could definitely do that with our children. So that's what respectful language looks like. Just positive energy. Respect their feelings, respect their opinions, respect their privacy, and respect their individuality. Us teaching our children that also teaches them how to do that to others. So what we give them is what they give us. It's what they give the world. So as long as we want our future to look better, it starts with doing better for our children. Our children need to have discipline. Discipline isn't always a whooping. It more looks like structured. It's consistent, it's predictable, and it's fair. So the structure can simply be when you wake up in the morning, you make up your bed, you brush your teeth, you wash your face. There's a routine that they follow. If something happens, they come to you with it. If they don't come to you do it, there should be some consequence. And it should always be the same. Consistent and predictable and fair. Never allow yourself to get too bottled up where you don't say anything or do anything and then they forget to close the refrigerator door all the way and then you snap. You never want to snap because what your child learns is you didn't do anything to me for all the things I've done wrong that I know I did wrong. Here I am making a small mistake and there's a wrath that has to be paid for it. And that's all because you chose to bottle it up and you didn't reprimand your child for everything that they've done. And that's part of holding them accountable. And we should hold them accountable as well as ourselves. Next up is to educate them and to be involved in the education that they get outside the home. So a lot of things that most children learn, they learn from home until they start going to school. And then some parents might leave the education up to the schools. So now they're not teaching their kids anything. Most children remember learning how to ride their bike when their parent taught them. Most children learned how to cook at home when their parents taught them. A lot of things that make us adults who we are now, most of it is what we learned in school for some, and others is what they learned at home. But what keeps you going through life mostly is what you learned outside of school. How you survive in these streets, you learned outside of school. How you communicate with people, you learned outside of school. School taught you to raise your hand and ask to use the bathroom. School taught you how to listen and learn and assimilate information up to a certain point. But how you interacted with people, how you managed to go through life, wasn't inside the classroom. You heard the lessons, but you acted it out outside of the classroom. And that's where most of the education and learning is actually done. I can give you the blueprint, but now you have to go apply it, and you're applying it outside the classroom. How about let's look over their work, look over their homework. We want to know what they know. We want to take the same lessons that they're getting and help it make sense to them. So the same thing we've done when they're introduced to new people, we're evaluating what they're learning, how they're learning it, and then we're giving them some feedback just to open their minds up. Because again, we're with them all the time, except when they're in school and we're at work. But we're also, again, teaching them how to survive the world. And if we teach them how to survive and be outside in the world without us, we got to give them some type of blueprint. We got to give them a formula and a way of doing those things without telling them to figure it out. There are so many wrong ways of doing things that's just unacceptable by people, to where we can give them that guidance, that blueprint, that, believe it or not, that voice in their head could be your voice telling them not to do something because of what the consequences can be or what the consequences are. You know, a lot of people glorify certain things and they always speak about the good, but they don't talk about the bad. Talk about everything. These are the consequences, pros and cons to things. You can go to bed early and wake up feeling refreshed. The cons is you might miss out on the concert. The con, you might miss out on that movie. You might miss out on something that's happening at a specific time. But in the long run, you got sleep. You're well rested and you can attack the next day better. You can assimilate information. You can process things. You can figure things out with a clearer mind because you got enough sleep. So we want to be able to give them that when we look over not just the work that they do, but the things that they do. Look over the homework, see how they're grasping information. You can talk to a teacher or find them a tutor outside of the classroom when you notice something's wrong, but you notice something's wrong because you're actually looking over their work. You're not just leaving them to go, oh, you did it already? All right, well, let's go outside, let's have some fun. Look over it, be involved. Talk to your children about their day. How was your day? How are things going on with you? What can we do to make your day better? These are the things that they're going to grow up and they're going to look at and realize, it's another way to problem solve. You gave them the tools. You've talked to them enough for them to know, I just don't have to do one or two things. I can do plenty. And there's more than one route to doing certain things. But they won't know that if they don't have a conversation. They're just left to play video games all day. There's nothing to learn in life from that. Or it's not as much to learn from life as that. I think you can learn a lot from different things, but you being a parent, you being a friend, you being a tutor, an older brother, a younger brother, sister, you have the ability to look over certain things and just give them your point of view, give them another way of looking at things, and you just grow. and you still want to recognize and acknowledge your child's achievements. They do something, whether they color a picture, whether they got an A, a B, a C, you want to encourage them to do better. You want to acknowledge their achievements, and you want to just motivate them to do better. Far too common, you got people just do things and like, oh, well, it is what it is. Let them just deal with it. And there's no significance on them having better. There's no significance on them giving their best or taking something back. Like, you know what? I don't like this. I want to do it better. I think you deserve better. And actual pride in what they do. So when you recognize and acknowledge your child's achievements, it makes them feel good about what they do. And your child should want to do better. Your child should want to give you the absolute best. And then when they have friends like that, and then you have a group of kids who just believe in doing their absolute best, and they know they're going to get the recognition for it, it only makes the future all the more brighter, because then you're going to have a bunch of people who are going to grow up from kids to adults who's going to always want to do their absolute best. And then we recognize them for it, and it motivates them to do even more. And then it goes to knowing your child, knowing the children around you. Spend quality time with them. Get to know them as an individual. Be approachable. Allow them to come to you and just have a conversation with you. You are the person who's grooming them and teaching them how the world works. They should be able to come to you. They should want to talk to you. They should want to figure things out and use you as the best role model they can have to doing those things. Ask your kids questions. You don't know everything that they've gone through because you're not always around them. You don't know everything that they think because you're not in their brain. So if you're going to raise children, if you're going to be around children, if you're going to be around anybody, you should follow those guidelines, those steps. Get people to know who you are, how you are, and just how to conduct themselves around you. It all goes into having that strength in the village. So we got to teach them communication. We got to teach them how to communicate. Because without having good communication skills, where are they going to go in life? So the better they can communicate, the better they can get through certain issues. A lot of the issues that people have is because communication failed. If you was disrespected, what does violence do except intimidate, fear, and cripple? It doesn't solve anything. I got you to stay away from me. I got you to not come around. Or I took something and now I don't have to give it back. But you only walk around with fear. Or you want to always stay on top like a heavyweight champion. You want to stay on top and keep defending your title because everybody wants it. Or you can share it. Everybody wants to be number one, but what's wrong with letting somebody else be number one for a while and pass it down from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person? And before you know it, you'd have a group of number ones and everybody are elite. You're all the top of the top. So, something to think about. And again, the child's developmental skills, there are subsections inside the first 7 years. So you figure from the first 6 weeks, the bond is forming. You want to hearing, visual, the way they see things, the way they hear things, touch, food, gum treatment, their motor skills, the way they communicate, the way you play with them and their health. They all develop at different rates. So those things develop differently between the first 6 weeks. The first month and a half to 3 months, it changes again. 3 months to 6 months, 6 months to 9 months, 9 months to 12 months, 1 year to 2 years, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and 5 to 7. Those increments are how those different abilities, the visual, the hearing, touch, food, hygiene, motor skills, communication, the way that they play in their health, all vary and they change in those different age groups, age levels. So if we focus on our children and we give them the best possible chance. We give them all of those things that we've mentioned, and we give them their best shot at being happy, being productive, um, just being a source of guidance. Remember their responsibilities, but at the end of the day, we have to let them do things on their own. We have to let them to experience life. We should never tell a child not to ask a question. We want them to grow. Children are like little scientists who want to figure things out and do things and have those experiences. And the minute you remove their creativity and their ability to ask questions and want to learn, that's what questioning things are. I want to learn. I want to figure this out. So keep answering the questions. Keep motivating them to ask questions. Show them different things. Put them in different places. If you don't know something, put them around people who do. Keep keeping them around smart people. And even people who don't know certain things is good moral compass. You don't know everything, you watch how they act. Put them around people who know everything and see how they act. And I said that wrong. Nobody knows everything, but you can be well-rounded in your profession. So allow your children to experience life, not just from your point of view. Let them experience life through the village. Everybody isn't a baker. Everybody isn't in communications. Everybody isn't in travel. Some people are into art. Some people are into music. Some people are into sports. The more resources your child has, the better they can figure out what they're good at, what they want to do, what they want to be. And your child can be great at a lot of things. They don't have to just pick one thing. Some kids can like to sing as well as play sports. There's nothing wrong with doing both. We've seen a lot of entertainers like sports as well as entertainment as far as art and music. And why limit anybody to anything? Why not let people be the best at everything that they can be good at? Let them be more marketable. Basketball players don't just, as I heard, dribble and shoot the ball. No, sometimes they own businesses. They promote other people's businesses. They have insight on different things that they can share. They can become coaches. They can help raise funds for different programs, and they can be very influential. But if we keep kids to only be able to do one thing, then that's all they'll know. That one thing. And then nothing else happens. So we want our children to be more versatile. We want them to be more capable of doing things, because if one thing stops, you never want your children to be stuck and not know how to move. If you can make a bowl of cereal and make pancakes and eggs, or pancakes, or let's say you're vegan, you know how to, fix something outside of that meat and animal product, all the more better for them. So you want to give them many options. You should want to learn many options. This way you can pass it down to your children and teach your children how to do certain things. So that is how, it's as close to a blueprint I can find. And I hope this information reaches you. If it's not for you, pass it along to somebody you know. I mean, kids are all around us. Even if we're not raising our own children, we should still know how to interact with children around us. And I believe this information is, if it's something you already knew, great. Pass this along to somebody who might not know. Pass it along to somebody who's just curious on the steps and the process. And for children, if you feel like, hey, that makes sense, you could bring it up and have your parents listen to it. And work with your parents and understand what it takes for them to take care of you. It's not easy. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and a lot of times they couldn't have picked their neighborhood because things are hard. But the more we can get around family, the more we can get around like-minded people. Even when it comes to the friends that we have, and we share this information, but like, listen, we should have morals, and we should talk with respect with one another. Then kids can have that conversation with other kids and know what's right and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. So I appreciate everybody who listened this far. I appreciate you. I hope this message finds you and you're happy with what we're coming up with. Again, I want to do as much research as possible to get you guys the most information possible so that it's something we can pass along and we can get good information in one solid location, because all too much we can't find what we need in one location. There's always so many books, or the book might be checked out, or we can't find this online. And not for nothing, to have one place where we can have these type of discussions and we can have this like-minded understanding, we're starting something. And we can definitely push to have more. We can definitely push to have better. We just have to come together and start doing it for ourselves. So thank you for checking in with us. That's our time. Have a good one.